ArtsScene Magazine. How are we doing? I hope everyone's doing well. My name is Kevin James Sievert, and I am so honored to be here with you in this issue of ArtsScene where we're talking about Black Arts Matter. I am an actor, a singer, a musician, a choreographer, director, fairly new to Milwaukee and to the Milwaukee art scene. A lot of my director and choreographer credits are more in my own local scene here in Manitowoc, where I currently am. Thank you, pandemic. But I have been very lucky to work with Skylight Music Theater and Outskirts Theater in the greater Milwaukee area, performing in a variety of shows. I've been in Newsies. You can see that right behind me over here. I've been in Hot Mikado, Five Guys Named Mo, just to name a few. And I've really enjoyed my time in Milwaukee. And when I think about Black Arts Matter, I have to think about my own very unique experience as a Black actor in my hometown, which is very small and not nearly as diverse as other places where I've been. So the idea of being a Black artist is honestly very new to me, and it's something that I'm discovering and having a really great time doing. My first show in Milwaukee was Hot Mikado. It was the first time where I could express myself as a Black man on stage, just fully being myself. And I didn't have to hide behind these conventions or hear people telling me that it's weird that I was playing certain parts or that it didn't feel right because of the time period or something like that. It was expressing that joy that I think I wasn't able to find in my hometown. And I think that there is a joy that expressing our culture in art, it's just so unique and so cool and so beautiful that when us as Black actors are able to experience all of these things on stage and share them with audiences, it's a really exciting synergy between actor and audience. And I am really lucky that I've been able to find that joy with a multitude of actors, directors, choreographers, producers in my last couple of years in Milwaukee. And I've been very lucky. When I think about what's been going down in our world over the last couple of months, with the George Floyd, with our election, with the pandemic, of course, it's times like these where we need art now more than ever. And I think our voices are a good way to celebrate our struggles, to celebrate where we're going, where we've come from. And when I think about voices that we should be listening to, I especially think of voices from the women of our world. Now, I was raised by a mom and a dad, and I had two sisters, but my mom and my sisters, I spent a lot of time with them, and they've taught me so much. And I just have so much reverence for the women in my world, in our world, who have taught us about where we're going and who we can become. And my journey as a Black actor in Milwaukee has also been ushered in by very strong and beautiful Black women who have guided me, who have taught me new things about myself, who are just beautiful in their craft and share their artistry so wonderfully with other people. And I'm really excited to shine a light on them and their artistry through this little article that we're doing. So without further ado, I am going to be sharing 3 of my favorite people, Raven Dockery, Miss Sheri Williams Pannell, and Christie Chiles Twillie. Hello, everybody. How are you doing?
Great.
Good.
I am so glad that I get to speak to the three of you. I literally just said this off camera. But these three women that you see before you, Raven Dockery, Christie Chiles Twillie, and Sheri Williams Pannell, they are three of the strongest, most beautiful, most vibrant theatrical forces that I have been able to work with in Milwaukee. Um, so, Christy, let's start with you. Can you just kind of describe who you are and what brought you here in this moment?
Sure. Who am I? I think when people ask me to describe myself, I always say I'm a pianist first, but pianist, music director, vocal coach, piano conductor, sound designer, composer, in
Oof.
all of those manifestations. I do music stuff.
Yes. And you do it so well. You won a footlight, right? For Five Guys
Yeah.
Named Mo. Yeah, she
Yeah.
was our music director for that, and she killed it. It was so good.
I love that show. I miss it so much too.
I know. I think I've been thinking about it a lot lately, honestly.
It was so fun, and you guys were so like spectacular and like just the right people to be in that production.
Yay! Oh, that's so good to hear.
You guys played off of each other so well. You made our jobs really easy.
Oh, thank you. We try. We try. Um, Miss Sheri, I met you doing the gospel at Colonus for Skylight, um, and it's been too long since I've seen you last. How are you?
I am well, and I can say that the arts continue to feed my soul, and as they have since I was a little girl growing up in Milwaukee and participating in everything from the church choir to school programs and through all the way through high school and college, grad school. I love the arts, and I'm so grateful that I have been able to earn a living doing what I love, following my passion.
Oh, absolutely. We are so lucky that you get to take us on this journey with you because you are so smart and so there's just so much energy with you, so much energy when you're in the room working with us. It's great.
Thank you.
Raven, what's up, girl?
Oh God, I don't know why I'm like so emotional. I don't know. I don't get it. These past couple of days have been really, really emotional. But I digress. I am over here. I'm trying to thrive in this world that we're in right now. And I was just talking to a fellow artist here in Milwaukee. Her name is Donna Summer, and we were talking about how the arts community and the church community has had to adapt so much through this pandemic and changed a lot, since this pandemic has started. Things have had to change, and how we've been able to adjust and be so still able to reach the masses in a way, even though it's different. Like I'm hoping and praying that, even though we've been able to adjust, that once this is over and slowly starts to get back to normal, we're able to go back to the way things were. But it still amazes me that we're in this situation, but it amazes me that we still can create and enjoy each other, even though it's in a different way. So I just been like really emotional for like the past couple of days, and it's so nice to see both Miss Sheri and Miss Christie over here. Miss Sheri is one of my mentors, and it's always lovely to hear you speak. I don't know why, but every time I just like want to.
I was about to say, Raven, I understand the tears.
Yeah.
We do miss one another. We miss our audiences. We miss being in the theater. I mean, I'm going to say outside of a house of worship, the theater is the next place where we congregate and we come together for this communal experience. Mm-hmm. And the joy, the laughter, the tears that we experience through the performances on stage. We miss that. We want to be together again in that way.
We as artists like experience joy on stage in so many different ways, but I think of our very specific and unique experiences as Black artists and how we can experience joy on stage in different ways. So what if you had to like pick out a moment where you felt the most joy as a black artist, what does that moment look like? Where were you? What were you doing?
I had a life as a concert pianist before
Mhm.
this, which is still kind of in a theater. And I would say having an audience cheer for you after you play with an orchestra on a big stage is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Um,
oh God.
yeah, that's for them to stand up and applaud. But as you know, Kevin and Miss Sheri and Raven, I'm the music director who insists on getting audiences out of their seats. And so, more recently, I would have to say it's the closing number for the Gospel of Colonus, where you guys were just tearing down the house, and everybody was up, and we had that whole praise break moment, even closing out the rest of the show to get people to leave, and they just didn't want to. They just wanted to hang out and hear us play and see you guys enjoy being on the stage and living in that moment. That was such an incredible production, but to have that kind of response from an audience that's not used to seeing an entirely African American production, of that caliber locally. I feel like it was transformative for the audience. And so part of me as a music director and as a conductor, I kind of feed off the audience a little bit. And so I'd have to say it's that moment.
Kind of like going off of like the gospel at Colonus idea, because it was there was blackness infused into the score, into the show. It was how it was supposed to be told. How do you share that part of yourself in your art in other shows that where it's not necessarily like written into the show? If you follow what I'm saying.
It's right here.
Mm-hmm.
You can't miss it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't miss it.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's not about a particular way of speaking or singing. It's just a way of being.
Yeah.
It's a way of being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And I would say that, like with other shows, I will often talk to people about their sound a lot from a way that I feel like allows them to come to a place of having a more soulful, richer, rounder type of tone, and like trying to get them to not rush through things, but learning how to feel time differently in the way we do when we really connect. And then, like, as far as scoring and for plays and films, I like find little elements of like rhythm or melodies or things that'll trickle in, and people will say, "Oh, I really like this part." And I was like, I was trying to write something that felt like a spiritual, or sometimes instrumentation that I use. I think that, which kind of reflects back on African instrumentation. It does filter its way in. And usually people aren't really distracted or they don't necessarily recognize it. They just like it,
I just worked with the maestra on a film which she scored. I was an actor in this film, and I saw the dailies, but when I saw the rough cut with her musical score underneath, it just it was beautiful. It was beautifully written and recorded. Video, the director, the videographer, everything was beautiful. But when she added the score, oh, it just something else happened. It just took on a whole another level, another life. And in fact, when I heard it, I right away I said, Christie, I love that. I love what you did. I get it. It's just, yeah, she is the maestra. That's all I can say.
I love you, Miss Sheri. I love you so much.
Yes. 2020, there was a lot of upheaval and there was a lot of growth, and we're heading towards a lot of change. How did your art help you navigate this turmoil that we went through?
For me, it's always just turning to music, and trying to find peace, and turning off the internet, and trying to block negativity. Definitely, that was the hardest thing about this whole past year. Was it's everywhere. It's like in front of you everywhere you go. And so, how do I still find joy? And that is through art for me. And so it was really hard not being able to perform this past year like I used to. But the beautiful part about being able to adjust as an artist and taking on this new way of reaching the masses, which was virtually performing, it was just basically learning how to adjust throughout this whole pandemic, but still finding peace and learning when to turn on the social mediums and when to turn it off and step back for a little bit, because it's hard. I mean, this is something that we've been, besides the pandemic, this whole George Floyd, all this stuff, this is stuff that we've been living with for forever. And it gets worse because social media is so powerful these days, and everybody has a camera phone. So everybody's taking videos, and it's like, okay, I don't need to see this right now. I can turn this off. I can put something else on. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, learning how to adjust and still being able to do what I love to do, even though it's through a different lens.
I'm really thankful for creative outlets like the Milwaukee Black Theater Festival and some other plays and things that I've got to work on, like with Jiva Theater and the radio play by Harrison Rivers. And but it's hard to make that creative switch from spending most of your time being an interpreter of what's already there versus building and creating something that you hope people are going to feel correctly through live streaming or playback, right? So that's been a challenge. So it's been a delicate balance for me as far as trying to maintain like some level of really being happy while still being creative, right? The timelines are so different now. We're so rushed to crank these things out, and we're trying to navigate technology, and you're like trying to feed your creative soul. And then you have all these other societal things that are awful that are happening that just kind of tear our hearts apart as African American people. And so it's been a really delicate balance to work through that different lens, to be in a different kind of room, to find something that's creative enough for you to feed you while we're still kind of dormant in the theater world.
I agree with Raven and Christie, but I tell you, our African ancestors created under greater duress even than we. They carried with them the memories and the rhythms and their talents through the Middle Passage,
Mhm.
through slavery in this country, through Jim Crow. Some of the greatest art form that was offered to the world through America came through these Africans. And their DNA is flowing through us. So we are resilient, we are creative, we are survivors, and we will always, even in the worst social situations, conditions in America, find a way to create and to find that joy. Because without it, I think we would have given up, and the four of us would not be here right now.
Mm.
Hmm.